Jane Longhurst on ABC Radio Hobart and ABC Northern Tasmania.
And the time is 20 minutes to 2 this Friday afternoon. Well, I'm sure you're familiar, and it's often in the springtime from memory, often around, say, October, November, that we tend to all become obsessed with Australia's bird life because we have a competition that requests people to contribute nominations for their favourite Australian bird. So I think that reveals there's actually quite a lot of us who love our feathered friends. And while you may not describe yourself formally as a twitcher, you know, someone who really gets into watching birds, I think we all appreciate just how vulnerable, how magnificent and how remarkable birds are. So imagine if your passion for birds is also allied to your passion for capturing images of birds through the lens of a camera. Pradeep Pandiyan is a Hobart-based bird photographer, and if you're anywhere near your phone or computer, I absolutely urge you to jump online and check out his Instagram page where you'll be able to see and marvel at his magnificent photographs. But let's meet him first. Pradeep Pandiyan, welcome to Your Afternoon.
G'day, Jane. Thanks for having me.
Oh, great pleasure. Now, can you share with us, Pradeep, if people do want to have a look at some of the gallery of images that you have of birds that you have photographed, what's the best way to find those images?
It's the best way would be Instagram. My Instagram handle is Pradeep Fireman, Fireman. So that's the best and go-to spot for to see my work.
And I'm looking at it as we speak. And Pradeep, if anyone is uncertain, is Pradeep. And then Fireman.
That is correct.
That's not your day job, is it, Pradeep?
No, it's not. It's not. It's my email address that was set up way long ago. So I've just started using that handle. It's stuck. Yeah.
As handles tend to do. That's so true. Well, Pradeep, let's unpack how you got into bird photography in the first place. Were you a keen camera enthusiast, or were you keen on birds, or which came first?
First came the camera, and then the bird. So first, it's basically I just gotten into the phase of exploring the digital camera. So and then and suddenly, you know, how breathtaking pictures that it can take, and then I started seeing myself, wow, this is stunning. Is this something that the camera is doing, or is it actually like this? So, but it's not the camera; it's actually like that with your naked eye. So then I started paying attention to the details. So and then I got into the birds. So my main influence was a National Geographic photographer, Tim Lehman.
Mm-hmm.
So his obsession was to photograph all the birds of paradise species from Papua New Guinea in various different islands of Papua New Guinea. And he's the only person in the world to photograph all the 40-odd species of the birds of paradise. So that obsession, it's just that passion drove me into that bird photography, and then I started doing the same. And then once I got into it, it become very, very addictive, and I just couldn't, can't even think of a day without even thinking about the birds. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. I must admit, my mind's just kind of expanding, contemplating over 40 species of the bird of paradise in Papua New Guinea. That must be just exceptional and so rare too. So there you go, that obsession and the patience that's required. Are you a patient person?
Absolutely, I am. So, I mean, you have to be when you're in and it's not about the birding and the twitching. Is just not about seeing the bird through a binocular and ticking off the list, saying that yep, I've spotted that bird. It's just not that. So you have to wait behind your camera and waiting for that perfect moment for that bird to come and sit on that perch and just clicking that photo without any obstruction of any twitches, any tweaks are in front of the bird's face. So you have to be very, very patient. I mean, the highest that I've waited for, to photograph one of the elusive bird there is the brown parrot. You wouldn't believe I had to wait for 5 straight days, 11 hours a day, bush bashing to photograph that species.
Was that in Tasmania, Pradeep?
It is in Tasmania, yes.
Oh, I'm not going to ask you where exactly, because is this an elusive bird? Is it an endangered bird?
It's not an endangered, but it is an elusive bird. Yeah, there are a couple of good places to look for it. But yeah, I mean, I can give the spot, but yeah. So the good place there are a couple of places. One in southwest, Melaleuca, and Ida Bay is the good place. But they're not endangered, but they're very, very elusive. It's very hard to spot them.
Well, just as I'm scrolling through, as you're describing, sort of where your dedication has taken you, and you've obviously got a very sympathetic employer who lets you go bush, for 5 days to get a photograph of the brown parrot. I'm impressed that, I can see that you've captured birds on, Waterworks Reserve and
Yes.
as well as sort of places that are a little more inaccessible, like Melaleuca.
Yeah.
Is that sort of part of the joy for you, is just also discovering different parts of the state, different parts of the island, and discovering what birds you can capture?
Oh, absolutely. It's the and yeah, it's the remoteness and it's absolutely it's exactly what it is. So because the reason I had to go to Melaleuca is to see a orange-bellied parrot. That is the only place in the whole world that they would come to rear the chicks and lay eggs. So and they fly back to mainland. So yeah, absolutely. So it's sort of mixed bag. So you can go and explore the place, and also you get to know the habitat and the bird species living in that particular habitat.
Well, Pradeep, you mentioned that National Geographic photographer. Could you repeat his name again?
Tim Lehman.
Tim Lehman, who managed to have the distinction of capturing those birds of paradise in Papua New Guinea. But you've been to King Island, and can I just quietly say, the King Island special quail, how special is the special quail? That looks like a bird of paradise.
Are you talking about the king quail? Sorry, the Californian quail?
No, I'm looking at your Instagram page, Pradeep, and I can see you've got King Island special quail, and it's got that sort of fantastic crest and a beautiful, big, handsome chest.
Yeah, that is a Californian quail. That's not native to King Island or native to Tasmania. Those are all introduced species in King Island. It was just on my list to photograph that. We were actually, looking 3 days straight, driving up and down the same road, which happened to be the prominent place to look for them. And we had no luck on the fourth day. First thing in the morning, there they were sitting right on the perch.
Oh, isn't that
just
funny?
Exactly where we wanted. So, yeah.
And look, you're absolutely right. As I do scroll down, Pradeep, you actually do indeed identify the species as a California quail. So clearly it's not indigenous to King Island. I was getting very excited there for a minute. But it's a beautiful looking bird.
It's a stunning looking bird. Yeah.
And is there a photograph that you're still seeking to capture? Is there a goal in mind? Like, would you like to capture every bird that is native to Tasmania? Is that kind of driving you as well?
So I've actually did capture the all native. The endemic species of Tasmania. So there is 12 Tassie endemics. It's also dubbed as Tassie 12 endemics. So you can't find those 12 endemic birds anywhere else in the world. So they're exclusive for Tasmania. So it took me about a little over 2.5 years to capture all the 12 species. The one species that I couldn't capture is the scropted, which is a very tiny, absolutely stunning little bird, which has a beautiful yellow wash underneath his throat. He's so elusive, and that's the only bird that I couldn't get on to complete my list. So that bird alone took me a little close to a year to finish my top 12 list. So I've finished off my Tassie 12 endemics, but there are a few other Tassie species that I wanted to photograph. So the one on the top of the list is Tassie wedge-tailed eagle. I've seen so many of them flying about, but I never got a fantastic portrait shot of them, sitting on a perch or on a tree or on the road eating roadkill. None. So I haven't got a single shot. So that's high on my radar at the moment.
Look, I think there's many of us who can probably go, yeah, I've certainly spotted wedgies, but to actually be somewhat close to them to be in that position, yes, I wish you all the very best. All the very best for that in your quest. It's 9 minutes to 2. Welcome to the first half hour of your afternoon with me, Jane Longhurst, presenting the program for Helen Shield today on ABC Radio Hobart and ABC Northern Tasmania. And my guest is birdlife photographer Pradeep Pandiyan, who has as a handle on Instagram Pradeep Fireman, and that's where you'll find images of, say, for example, the Californian quail, which Pradeep captured over on King Island. I must say, Pradeep, I was really touched and noted that you've captured a number of shorebirds, and they're such beautiful creatures. But if you walk along a beach and you can see that there's various young shorebirds sort of up ahead, they're so elusive. They're so reluctant to stick around. The last person they want to see is someone walking anywhere near them. And for example, the double-banded plover I noticed that you've sort of captured. How do you go sort of, again, this is where your legendary patience comes into it, but how do you go capturing photographs of birds, shorebirds specifically?
Yes, shorebirds can be very, very tricky. I always do the army crawl. So that's the only approach. So because the shorebirds have this little, they just, they start from one point, they just quickly run along and they stop. They just quickly run along and they stop. So the minute they start seeing some kind of threat or, some kind of movement around them, they tend to move away from that spot. So the best way to approach them is just using using a binoculars from the distance and, on your belly, on your stomach, lay flat to the ground, do an army crawl. So that's the only way to approach the shorebirds. Yeah, shorebirds can be very, very tricky, especially the double-bandeds and the red-capped plovers and the dotterels and the hooded dotterels. So yeah, they can be tricky. Yeah.
And Pradeep, just finally, do you have a favourite observation of something a bird has been doing while you've been out photographing them?
Oh, several.
Do tell.
Several. I've actually seen. Do you know what brood parasitism means?
No, I'm afraid I don't. Pardon my ignorance.
Okay. No, that's fine. Brood parasitism means all the cuckoo birds, fantail cuckoo, and all these cuckoos come to Tasmania to lay eggs and breed the chicks. So the brood parasitism means these cuckoos, they don't know how to build a nest, so they lay the eggs in the other birds. So the other birds will tend the chick, as their own, and once they realize that they're not their own, they'll just kick them away from the nest. And at that point, the chick will able to feed for itself and it will fly off. So that's what the brood parasitism is. So once we were in Ida Bay, we've actually witnessed a shining bronze cuckoo, which was absolutely enormous bird, is being fed by a brown thornbill. A thornbill is such a small, tiny bird, and the tiny, small bird is feeding a 6 times bigger size of a bird that's not his chick. So he was treating that chick as his own, and he was feeding him. So that was, and it wasn't a not clear position for me to photograph. It was in a very, very obstructive way for me to photograph, but I had a good look at that behavior. So that's one example.
Well, I just think you are rewarded with your patience so very much. As you've been speaking, Pradeep, we've had a message from someone with a name starting with C, just to say, my son sent me the most beautiful photo of a pair of eagles on a log last year. So I bet you're jealous, Pradeep.
Oh wow.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll get a wedge-tailed eagle or two. I'm sure you will. Pradeep
Yeah.
Pandiyan, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you. You really have inspired us all, I think, to keep our eyes and ears peeled for our beautiful birds. And who knows, we'll be out there, out at Melaleuca joining you one year. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Jane.
Pleasure. Bye-bye. That was Pradeep Pandiyan, and if you want to follow him on Instagram, Pradeep Fireman, and you'll be able to see that gallery of images. They're absolutely stunning.